Welcome to Boxing Fans Talk TV. I'm your host, TDT. You can refer to me as Miss T. Well, we got some news. We can review the fights this past weekend and they were some good fights. But we can also talk about these up and coming fights. We got some good news on the horizon. But first, let's turn to what's up? What do the lonely do at Christmas? That's an important question, huh? Anyway, that song was in my head. Shout out to Dez. She got that song in my head. And yeah, that wasn't my songs. That was by the Emotions. And yeah, they asked the question, what do the lonely do at Christmas? If y'all know the answer to that, let a sister know. Wink, wink. So um, just that's a crazy song. That song is tight though. I love listening to it. That was Silent Night by The Temptation, of course. My mom keep bringing up songs by James Brown. Like, Mom, I don't know him. Mom, I don't know him. But I guess I had to be, you know, a certain age to remember those. I don't know if they were out during the 70s or the 80s, but I don't remember James Brown Christmas songs, but they out there. They out there. So I wish we could play like a whole bunch of Christmas songs, in the background while I'm doing the show, but you can't. You can't do it. So welcome to the show to my newcomers. Welcome. If you're looking at me on Facebook, coming to the YouTube, hit like and subscribe if you never did it before. My email is scrolling at the bottom on the ticker. You see that? I have the Cash App. The Cash App is used to help provide, everything for the show, to help me keep the show going. And you're welcome to Cash App if you so choose. And thank y'all for joining and everything. So, as usual on Mondays, and I think we're going to have Coach G in today, but as usual on Mondays, we normally talk about or review the fights. But before we do that, I wanted to get into a special fight that's coming up. So I want to say congratulations to Earl Spence for being in the process of finalizing his fight with Spence and Ugas. Now, for the WBA championship belt. Errol Spence currently holds the IBF and the WBC championship belts at the in the welterweight division. For those of you who might not know what welterweight division is, it's 147-pound division. Okay, he is in the process of finalizing a match that could happen in March or April for that championship belt. The winner of that fight will have 3 of the belts. The missing puzzle will be Terrence Bud Crawford with the WBO belt. So this is exciting news for boxing, and I'm happy for Earl, and I'm happy for Spence Ugas. Now, I be trying not to talk about Errol Spence because you can't talk about him without talking about Terrence Crawford. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give my perspective, and some may agree and some may not agree. But let me break this down. Hold on. So some of y'all might agree and some of y'all might not agree about the fact that, how y'all feel about either fighter. These two fighters are polarizing. They are the creme de la creme of their perspective or respective divisions. And it's like it's hard to be a fan of either one when you like both of them, right? You like both of them. They're both great fighters, but it's hard to be a fan because for some reason they evoke emotion, or emotional responses from their fans. I'm a Bud fan, and I let it be known. That's my favorite fighter. He's my favorite fighter, and I'm going to pick him every time. Trey Finest is in the building. He said, hello, my sister at Miss T. The roses. Thank you, sir. Salute to you, King. But, that doesn't mean that I don't like Earl. But I can be unbiased in this situation. There's only one fighter that I'm biased with, and that's Deontay Wilder. This is Deontay country over here. And people come in, they try to talk slick about Deontay. I stop them. I am biased, and I'll tell you why I'm biased about Deontay Wilder. It's because the reason why he received so much hate and unfair treatment in that ring is because of how they personally feel about him. He not only get it from, the unfair treatment from the refs, it could be the judges, but also fans, but then other boxers that you wouldn't even think will feel that way about him. He doesn't do nothing wrong. You don't hear nothing about him in these streets, outside of boxing. He only really comes around or come out when it's time to fight. He's a fighter that you will love. Either you like knockouts or you don't. But sometimes when we talk about certain fighters, we'll say, oh, he don't finish the fight. Or they'll say, oh, he just run around the ring. Which one is it? Which one do you like? Deontay give it to you all. He giving y'all what y'all want, but they don't like him. So I feel like I had the need to be a little extra or show a little extra favor because I need that king to know we here for him. I love how he carry himself and the type of man he is. What is there not to like? Dre finally said, EJ's is my favorite, but I like Bud, but not his antics. And there you go. And that's okay. But when we take it, Dre, to another level and people can't even criticize, respectfully or whatever, that's the part I don't want to deal with because I can look at both of them and say they said this and they said that and they didn't live up to what they said they're going to do. Or, I can say this much. People are mad to me for the wrong reasons at certain fighters. So let me say this. Well, first, let me say how this whole thing is going as far as EJ getting this fight. And congratulations to him. He earned it. Birdman is in the building. Salute, King. He says salute to the Queen, Miss T, and Dre's finest. Salute, family. So they have Henley is in the building. What's popping, King? Said good evening, Miss T, in the chat. And Dre finally said Deontay Wilder is the man. You dig? Bomb Squad to this day. You dig? I'm on that train too, Dre finest. I'm on that train. And as I said, I have to give him a little extra favor. If I don't do it, who gonna do it? Who gonna do it? And especially when nobody can point to me where he went wrong. But I say that same thing about Errol Spence and Bud Crawford. What did they do that's so fucking bad? Somebody need to tell me, because maybe, just maybe, I missed it. And me being a Bud fan don't mean that I can't tell the truth. It's not all people. Like I just told you, I was a fan of Bud, and I'm going to pick him every time. Dre just told you he's a fan of Errol, and he's going to pick him every time. That's all we had to say, right? No harm, no foul, right? Exactly. I agree, Queen. And he says, salute at Birdman. Facts, Queen. And that's how I'd rather for it to be. I get it. I'm one person. I don't control nobody. But I'm just speaking my piece on it. Now, Stanley Onis was paid step-aside money. And I'm glad that he got that. I'm happy for these fighters. DJ in the building. Salute Queen T. Salute King. DJ. Big Daddy in the building. So Stanley Onis was paid step-aside money to go ahead and get the hell out the way. Fair exchange is no robbery, y'all. It's no robbery. If it won't Errol, it could have been Bud. I don't care who was going for that WBA belt, but I thought it was unfair that they made Ugas go into a box off. If you go back and watch my previous videos, I said as much. I said that's kind of unfair. Y'all treating him like he's an interim champion, and he's the regular fucking champ, you know? It's Bud. Bud is not facing Errol. He's my guy. In the end of the day, Stanley Otis made a come up. Ugas about to make a come up. And as usual, Errol is going to have a come up. So it's all good. It's all fair. There's no problems here. Did Bud in his maneuvering, did he catch more favor than Errol? Not. He didn't. But that happens. There are times when Bud makes maneuvers and he caught more favor, and there are going to be times that he don't. It don't matter. He not cutting me a check. I stand up here and rep him all the time. I can ask him for an interview. He's not going to give it to me. I'm talking about Bud. I've met him a couple of times. He's not going to give it to me, an interview. And Boots. Yeah. Boots is on the rise. But in the end of the day, that I'm a boxing fan. And I can like both. I can just like one more than the other. Or I strictly pick Bud based on what I've seen. I don't buy into that, his resume or whatever. I'm talking about what he do in the ring. What we want our fighters to do. We want them to fight, right? But we also want them to finish the fight. If you in there with a so-called tomato can or somebody that ain't good, you're supposed to finish him. The example I can give, Sean Porter and Formella or whatever. He should have finished him. Sean Porter was more elite than that guy. He should have finished him, but he didn't. And it's okay. He still won, but he didn't. So when you in a fight with somebody that is sort of like a tomato can, or they ain't that great, then you should finish them. If you ain't finishing fighters, somebody can look at that and say, you know, this is how people going to distinguish between you and somebody else. You have to be entertaining. You have to be entertaining for people to want to watch you. If you're not being entertaining, rigging now, and I find them entertaining, but there's going to be a lot of people that's casuals that can't get with that slow movement, or he ain't moving slow, but you know what I'm saying? Ain't much going on in the fight. Too defensive. He is way too defensive. But I see the science in what that man is doing. So I'm appreciative as a fan of real boxing. Dre finally said, I just want to see the fight, sis. Me too. That's it. DJ, my Bama brother. Salute, family. That's from Birdman. And DJ saying, salute, Birdman. Salute, my Bama bro. Yeah. So Stanionis got this step aside. Shout out to him. He got a good pay up. And now he can go fight Buetev if he wants to, or whoever else. So with the condition, that has a caveat though. It's with the condition that they fight on the undercard of Ugas and Spence, right? So that's gonna be good. We get to see them two in action. They were thrown in the mix, almost derailing everything Ugas has worked for. That brother deserves his moment in the sun, and the WBA seemed like they was robbing that. So shout outs to them for changing their mind. That can happen. Remember, Buetev stopped WBA champ Jamal James. Y'all remember that fight not too long ago. That in a sense, I like Jamal James, but I always was wondering, it was a stroke of luck or something that he was winning his fights. He probably hit hard. He probably, you don't know it unless you in there, but the way he stand or his stance, so he don't seem steady. You know what I'm saying? When he's fight, but that could be just his physique or whatever the case may be. But, Buetev took that up off him, whatever he had. I think that belt has now been, I think this is part of the WBA trying to drop these belts. PGH Big Dog is in the building. He said, salute Queen T. Ugas deserved this payday. He most definitely did. We can be happy about everybody in this situation. Yeah, unbalanced. That's a better word. Yes, Dre, help me out. Unbalanced. Because I was just waiting for him to catch it. And that's every fight that I looked at. And the crazy thing is, I used to look at him and like him as a fighter. Didn't know his name the whole time. I don't know how that happened, but it's a true story. So Buetev beat him. And right now, Bud is he didn't catch the favor. That's the best way I can say it. Or some people could say he's boxed out. Some people could say, ha, Bud, the joke's on you. However they want to say it. Bud didn't catch the favor. And it's okay. Sometimes in life, you don't catch the favor. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to turn it into something that's more than what it is. Bud simply didn't catch the favor. It didn't work to his favor this time. It would have been nice as a Bud fan for him to go get the WBA belt. But it's cool. And it's still nice that Spence gets that opportunity. When they do face, and I'm assuming they will face, if the goal is to become champion, unified champion, and then undisputed, if that is the goal, then them two will meet. All this, I don't need each other, that's just them talking. I don't put no credence in men talking. It would be something if they talking at each other, putting each other down or something, they in different weight classes. That would be another thing. But they both in the same weight class. As a fighter, you're going to have some arrogance with you. You're going to have some bravado. And you're going to be egotistical. But like in everything else in life, you're going to have to learn how to balance that. We all be on some balancing acts. Because we go to work. When I go to work, I don't put this voice on. Even though this voice is okay, when I was working, I'm retired now, but when I was working, I was more professional. When I come home, I'll be like, yeah, what's up? What up? That's how I be talking. I let my hair down. But when I'm at work, it's like, yes, no, I'm speaking as best I can, to the best of my ability. Because I'm in a professional setting. Well, the ring is the professional setting. So what you do in the ring and out the ring sometimes matters. We have to judge that. That's why I say I'm biased to Deontay. What he does out the ring, I'm happy with. This dude is a great man. I gotta show him favor. Because why they don't like him has nothing to do with what he do in this boxing streets. And everything to do with the man he is. He's unapologetically black. And I can't have that. So, King, I'm going to rock with you. And I'm going to give you extra love. I can do the same thing for Earl and Terrence. If the boxing world would let it. But they're not going to let it. They not gonna let it. They just can't be like, oh, these guys are they great. We just can't wait to see them fight and all that. Every move they make, when he was with Top Rank, Bob come out embarrassing him, saying whatever. And I'm gonna say this about that. I am proud of both of them for different reasons. I'm proud of Terrence for making the best out of his situation. I'm not gonna be one of them people that's get mad at him for the choices he make. I hear a lot of people say, you could have did this or you should have did that. You know what? Whose career is it? Is it my career or his career? Is it your career or his career? He should have did what the fuck he wanted to do. And it worked for him. You cannot put no markers on what's best for him. Dre finally said a lot of people is taking it too personal and emotional, in my opinion. You dig? That's how I feel. Dre, exactly, Queen. And I can't stand this shit. Because it's hard to be like, I like them both. Okay? I'm very straightforward and honest. Terrence Crawford all day. I got him. If him and Earl meet in the ring, I got Terrence. But if they doing other individual fights, I always root for Earl. If Earl has a pay-per-view, I buy them. It depends on some other people pay-per-view, like Canelo when he fought this last time. I bought it because I was supporting Caleb Plant. Even though I knew he was going to lose, I was supporting Caleb Plant. I was just hoping a modicum of opportunity that Caleb might win. And Caleb was doing good till he got a little lackadaisical. And I knew even if Caleb had beat Canelo, he was going to lose. That was my feeling. But I bought it to support him. Other than that, when Canelo fight, I don't buy his fights at all. But I buy every Errol fight. And I buy every Terrence fight. And as a boxing fan, what more do you want? These are both African-American men. We should be proud of both of them. We should be proud of both of them. But instead, we got to talk about people's resumes and this, that, and the other. And to be honest, it really ain't that much daylight in between. And in my opinion, a lot of, and this is my opinion, because I've sat here and I've watched time and time again, people call Bud all kinds of names. I don't say nothing. Stephen Houston is in the building, was popping king. Facts. Too many people getting emotional when they have no financial stake in the fight. In the fight. And Dre finally said, I like them both, and I'm happy for both of them brothers. Me too. I watched him call him a bitch, punk, whatever. Just tear him down. Right? And then I said, well, what is everybody mad at? You mad because he signed with Bob? Well, let's go through that. When Terrence Crawford first entered the game, you hear the story about him and Tim Bradley. And then you hear about Tim Bradley saying, oh, you're not a prospect or a contender. You're a champion. So they make moves and they try to get him signed with somebody notable. Terrence Crawford was already signed to a promotional company, lest we forget. He was already signed to a promotional company that did worse for him than Bob Arum. Won't promote him, won't even get him fights. He walking around being people's sparring partners. Y'all remember that? Let me check in. Do y'all remember that? Dre's fine is the same here at Miss T. People just go too goddamn far. Yeah. Terrence was signed to a promotional company that pretty much didn't give a damn about him, but was taking any little money that he was getting. Now, y'all seen what humble beginnings he come from. So his marker of success is his. It's not yours. It's not mine. It's his. To somebody else, they could be like the Floyd Mayweathers of the world, say, I need $1 billion. Terrence is happy with whatever it is that he got. You said true. So Bob comes in and Terrence signs with him, hoping that his star will rise, that Bob's going to get him the fights he needs to shine. Every boxer that become a boxer is that's what they want, right? They want their star to rise, because if your star rise, that's how you can demand higher pay or better pay, and you get more opportunities. You got to be seen to get more opportunities. You got to be in the place to get more opportunities. And that's what Terrence was hoping that Bob would do for him. Okay? So now Terrence made a bad decision because he signed 2 people. But boxing has a shelf life. You can't sit around and wait. This ain't some shit you're going to be doing in your 40s or 50s and 60s. I mean, you gotta get strike while the metal is hot. It's just like women. Women, you want to have your children before 35. I'm not saying you can't have children after 35, but it gets more complicated after 35. So you want to have your children then. So if you want that ideal situation of being married with, and having children and having a home and raising a family, you got to strike while the metal is hot. You got to choose well. The same thing with boxing. Some fighters grow old at 32, 33. You can't say when that's going to be for you when you're 21, 22, 23. You don't know. You don't know what the future holds for you at that time. PGH Big Dog in the building. He said, Bud is great in the ring, but makes horrible business decisions. Shaking my head. That's what we talk about. Dre Finest, Bud is still paying that bum of a promoter before Bob. I think that ran out in his second re-signing of Bob. I'm not sure, but I believe that dumbass promoter he had first, I think their ties are done, and that came in Bob's and his re-signing. Okay, so Bob signs him the first time. We know how Bob is. We know Bob don't have black fighters' best interests at heart. It is what it is. Am I going to say Bob is a Ku Klux Klan? No. I'm not going to put that jacket on him. But we know how Bob get down. Floyd had to run from Oscar. Other fighters had to run from, because Bob going to pick who he liked the best, and he going to put him up there. And I'm telling y'all, for Bob, y'all know who it was, Loma at the time. He's going to spruce up Loma, put him on a pedestal, and make him the fan favorite and all this shit. And that's the one he going to actually put in work with and invest. Everybody else is going to sit on the shelf, and you're going to move when he moves. You're going to move when he wants you to move. And you just got to take it. And you're going to sit back if you Terrence Crawford and be like, I'm better than the damn Lomachenko. But ain't shit you can do about it. Because that's where he want his money to go. But why do he scoop people up like Terrence? Look at who he just did. He scooped up all them Olympians that just came back. Why do he do that? Well, if he going to prop up Lomachenko, he got to make sure he have control of the people that can ruin all that shit. That's what Bob doing. He's protecting his investment. Now, a lot of people might not see it like that at first. And sometimes you could be, it's a catch-22 position. You could be in a situation where you ain't got no choice but to take that shit. Because look at Keyshawn Davis. Didn't he just sign with Bob? Right? Where's everybody lining up to line this dude pockets to give him the guidance so he don't have to sign with Bob? But we mad because Terrence signed with him. Should we be mad that Keyshawn signed with him? Everybody don't have a Bill Haney in their life who is an excellent father and did right by his son. Or Earl Spence Jr.'s father, who did excellent by him. Because Earl didn't fall victim to this. Earl betted on himself. He stood on his own, and he got his own promotion. All that from the jump. But he had help, y'all. He had help. Everybody don't have that. So you got to get what you can get. You got to take it how you can get it. Dre finally said Bud is still paying that bump of a promoter. I think I read that. And you said straight crook. I think you meant cook. You said facts. Exactamundo. So as Bud fighting in that first contract, he's getting whatever. You know Bob is lowballing him. And Bob is making money off of him. You heard on Barbershop Conversations how they make money, how the networks give you a budget, their budget for that fight night. And it can be somewhere like 500 million, 400 million. And with that money, you got to pay the fighters, pay for the venue, pay for, all this stuff. But you have all this money left over. Who holding that? The promoter. The fuck he talking about? He losing money on Bud. You was making money on Bud, and then you lowball your fighters. How you get a budget of $500 million, but your fighter get the main event get like two million? Crooked Bob Arum. But that's business, right? So Terrence, in a sticky situation with that first promoter, signed with Bob. He alleviates one problem. He's getting fights. He's being seen, and he gets a championship. So this is all that the first promoter wasn't doing. So Bob not only is making money because the network paid him, now he gets a 30% cut, I believe, something like that, 30 or 20, whatever the number is. He's getting a cut from the pay of Terrence. And then he turned around and got to give that same kind of amount of cut to that promoter that Terrence had. Now, that contract ran out with Terrence when he was with Bob. I don't know if it was in the first contract or if it was in the second contract with Bob when Terrence re-signed, did that first promoter that Terrence had run out. Dre Finest said 30%. Okay? So maybe Terrence did the best he could in a sticky situation. But in doing that, he precluded or excluded himself from all these fighters on the PBC. Now look at what the PBC got going on. Rumors that they running out of money. They can't pay nobody. They overpaid a lot. It's going to be some money issues. Okay, but PBC was looking good when they first came out, right? Bud was so wrong that he chose Bob instead of the PBC. Maybe Bud is not a businessman. Maybe he's that type of man that got to work for somebody because he don't want that headache. Some people can do their own business and be their own boss. It don't mean everybody is built for that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be mad at him for signing up with Bob because nobody was lining his pockets or being there for him, kind of like Devin's dad was for him. I think it's so excellent how Devin and Earl's dad guided their career and then let the reins go and let them be their own man. Speaks volumes. Excellent, excellent, excellent on both of their parts. Andrew Charles is in the building. He says, salute, Miss T. So maybe Bud didn't have that. So Bob getting his cut, the other guy getting his cut, and Terrence is, I know what you meant, Charles, Miss. And Terrence is taking what little bit he got to go home. But if Terrence was taking $50,000 home, that was more than what he had before. There's people work all year long and don't even make $50,000 a year. And y'all saw how humble beginnings that Bud came from. So, maybe he don't dream big, but should we be mad at him because he don't dream big? Should we be mad at him because he was an unguided young person, maybe a child, when he signed that first contract? Should we be mad at him because he felt like, I'm going to sign with Bob Arum, Top Rank? That's a big name to help me out, to get me out this sticky situation with this first promoter. And then, he's seeing what Bob doing. Now, let me story break for a minute. And let me tell y'all something. A lot of people will be upset with how Terrence carried himself in the midst of Bob and his antics and his talking points and the things that he was saying. I lost money. I could have had a Beverly Hills mansion. All that embarrassing shit that he was saying. Stuff that, a man could be like, wait a fucking minute, man. It's like you challenging my manhood in front of everybody. I got to slap you now or whatever. Terrence Crawford handled himself well, in my opinion. Why do I say that? Why do we give 2 weeks notice to a job that we can't stand and we about to quit? Why? It's not so much for that job or helping them people out. It's helping you out because you got to go forward in life. And them people that you're going to meet going forward, they're going to be looking back in your life and judging you on how you did. So if you quit them and left them high and dry, what the fuck you going to do to the new people? That's how they looking at it. So it's always business as usual until the business is done. And that's how Terrence comported himself. He didn't talk bad. He didn't say nothing. He played the wall. That's one way to play it. But I can't be mad at him for playing the wall. What he gonna do? Bob got way more money. He gonna start fights with Bob in mystery. He knew what he was going to do. We didn't know what he was going to do. We only knew what it looked like. But nobody, he couldn't do nothing right, in my opinion. Nothing he did would be right. He was quiet as a church mouse. He took that abuse. He didn't say nothing because he had an end game. And it played out beautifully. Because when he kind of like fired Bob on the stage recently after the Porter fight, everybody was like, everybody was happy, right? They were like, that shit smooth as hell. It wouldn't have been smooth as hell if Terrence would have did what everybody wanted him to do back then, was yapping at the mouth, or because Terrence is very egotistical. He got a lot of bravado, but apparently Terrence know how to turn that shit on and off. He be playing chess. Little do people know. Andrew Charles, Bud, one of the highest paid active boxers right now. He got his. Now, when he re-signed, all hell broke loose because that's a sign of him ducking. I don't consider that a sign of him ducking. I consider that a sign of him handling his business the way he wanted to. We don't work for him. He don't work for us. He ain't got to please us. The only thing we going to get enjoyment out of Terrence Crawford is in that ring. That's it. If he ain't in the ring, we ain't getting no enjoyment. But we not promised that. It's his career, y'all. It's his career. Dre finally said Pamper Bob would have set Bob ass on the shelf. Yeah. So here Terrence is being quiet. He know the end game. He know what he gonna do. None of us do. We throwing all kinds of insults at him. Dre said, I don't be pocket watching, you dig? Exactly. Now that I don't understand, because in my generation, men didn't count other men's money. Unless, I don't understand that shit at all. But, hey, to each his own. That's all I can say. I have to live in my generation, and pocket watching won't the business. You dig? How y'all say, you dig? So, he's sitting there playing the wall. He ain't saying nothing. Then he fires him. That was classic. Bob looking crazy. But Bob old. At this point, y'all know how I feel about that. He's 90 years old. When you reach that age, hey, if you couldn't get him before 90, let that man, let him be at peace. He have a right at that point to call people whatever he want to call them, say whatever he want to do. It's called respect. Respect the age. You don't necessarily have to respect the man or the woman who holds the age, but respect the age. Dre's finally said, Bob would have set Bud on the shelf. Yeah. And he was kind of doing it. Now, just because Terrence wasn't vocal about who he was asking to fight, and sometimes he was vocal, it wasn't good enough. He, again, don't have to tell you shit. His promoter is Bob. He has a manager, I'm sure. He don't have to tell us shit. So, again, I'm supposed to be mad at Bud because he won't telling us his day-to-day and what was on his mind. Can't do it. I can't do it. I can't be mad at him no more than I could be mad at Earl for doing whatever the hell he want to do. It's their career. So then, okay, moving forward. Now, one of the complaints the whole time that Bud was playing the wall, because some people do that. They play the wall. Dre's finally said, facts at Miss T. I'm cut from a different cloth. You dig? I dig. So, he's playing the wall. Why don't Bud be vocal? He don't promote himself. Well, maybe in Bud's mind, he thinking, that's what I pay Bob for. But we could say, but obviously Bob ain't doing the job. You got to do something. And I agree with that. He should have did more. But that ain't him. I can't make this man be nobody else but him. I can't even make him be him. He is him. You know what I'm saying? We are who we are. We could say what we would have did differently, but do we really know what we would have did differently if we was in that situation? He played the wall. That was his choice. I ain't mad at that. So then when he fires him, now he's vocal. Now he's talking shit. Where the big fish at? Where the big fish at? Okay. I took that as a grown man talking to another grown man who's in his weight class. They talking shit. That's what boxers do. I won't get into it. Then, the text, the proverbial text that was Fugazi. Some people jumped on it. Even if all that shit was true, I wasn't gonna jump on it. Again, men being, showing their bravado, doing the chest beating. That's all I took it as. But some people be butthurt about that shit. And I was like, we don't have to. We don't have to be butthurt. These are two great men. And we got to keep that in the forefront of our head. These are two great men, two great fighters, and we'll put on an excellent show if they can ever make it to the ring. But all us fans is worrying about the wrong things. We should just worry about, are they healthy? Are they good to go? Can they make it to that ring? That's all we should care about. All that extra shit, no. But they wanted him to be vocal, and so he does. That's not good enough. When he responded to that Fugazi-ass Twitter or whatever that was, text message, I don't think he responded disrespectful or bad or anything. He stated a fact. Hey, you didn't call me. Don't, come on now. Don't lie to the fans. Now, who did it? Who sent out the fake text? I don't know. To say it was a Bud fan, I couldn't tell you that. To say it was a Spence fan, I couldn't tell you that either. I don't know, and we'll never know. But the first clue to me that it was kind of Fugazi is, if you look at Spence text and you look at Bud, a hint to the wise, y'all. Start looking at the date time group. You don't see that already, you should say to yourself, shit is fake. If you look at that text that he sent when he said, I'll try to call you, talking all that shit or something like that Earl Spence supposedly had sent. One, the picture was grainy or grainy or whatever you call it. Two, there was no date time group on that, meaning there was no date and there was no time. But everything that Buzz sent and everything that Earl do send has a date time group. Next time y'all get a text or tweet or whatever, look for that before y'all jump on it, please. Trey Finer says, say it again for the ones in the back. And Miss T, you dig? I dig. And so Doug. Yes. Look for a date time group. Y'all got to look for the authenticity of certain things. And for me, it's always going to be the daytime group. I don't see a daytime group. It's already Fugazi. Somebody hiding something. But then when Earl responded, you saw a daytime group. When Terrence sent his, you saw a daytime group. But the shit kicker that you talking all that ish and ain't, that shit didn't have one. So that shit, and I'm saying this to Bud and Earl. When y'all see these tweets and all this shit, y'all got each other number. That's an easy fix too. You can text, hey man, you sent this out. Nah, and how we know that didn't happen? Ain't nobody living with either one of them. We can say we know them, but we don't know them. Because like I said, Terrence's response wasn't that bad. It wasn't even, to me, I ain't say that bad. It wasn't even bad. Earl's response wasn't either. But we take it as fans and we make more of it than what it really is. I didn't see it as something big at all. And I didn't, and we got on, what was his name? CC, Chris Colbert, because he was talking about Deontay, somebody that he'll never face, never have to fight, but he wanted down him. Remember how we got on CC for that coon and shit? Remember how we got on the Charlos for that coon and shit? Talking about somebody they'll never face and can't understand where the hate come from? We can't say that about Bud and Arrow, because I don't ever hear Bud talking about nobody outside the weight class. Ever. And I don't hear Earl doing that either. Neither one of them. And then we must go by how they feel about each other. Not one time have I ever heard Earl say he think Terrence Crawford is scared of him. Not one time. Not one time has he ever talked or alluded in the way that make me think that he thinks Bud is scared of him. And I can say the same thing for Bud to Earl. Not one time have I ever heard that Terrence felt like Earl was scared of him. So should we go by what the fans are saying, or should we go by what the two men involved are saying? I'd rather go by what the two men involved are saying, because they're not saying what a lot of these fans are saying. Andrew Charles say, I don't read too much into tweets. It's got nothing to do with nothing as far as I'm concerned. People act like they legally binding documents. That's another thing. I'm glad you said documents. Here's another thing I have never seen from either one. I've never seen a term sheet. I've never seen a contract. So we can't say what they did. And I don't think it's good business to negotiate in public. Never seen either one of them do that with any other fighters they had. So why are they going to do it out in public? So is this real information that we're getting? Or is this as fans hyping it up more and more and more? This is why I say it's hard to even talk about these two guys. I love them both. I can't, it's hard. I try to avoid conversations. And I know I shouldn't have a boxing show, but I do try to avoid conversations, about these two, because ain't no telling what can hop off. And how do you have a conversation, an intelligent conversation about two people you like? You just might like one person more. It ain't the end of the world. They can get into a fight and fucking Earl Wally mops Terrence. I'm still gonna like Terrence. In the end of the day, Deontay has a draw and 2 losses. In my mind, he should have had 2 wins. And I don't know what that second fight was. Don't matter what I feel. What is the facts? He lost. Is this still Deontay country over here? This is still Deontay country, even with a loss. So I would imagine that if Terrence and Earl fought and Terrence lost, y'all know who I'm still rocking with. But I will be the first. Earl, you did your thing. Y'all know how I feel about him too, with his injuries. But I said I won't go say that no more. Y'all know where I stand with that. I try not to say. Now I might say something, but the only thing I'm gonna just say this much. I've been in the military 20 years. Y'all know that. I've been in the war too, and we did some things. Okay, I've experienced a lot of injuries, and I'm gonna tell you, and you ain't gotta believe me, but anything from the neck up, you need more time to heal. The doctor say, oh, this gonna take 4 months. Double that shit. So what have I been preaching? I've been saying, hey, Earl, you should sit out till goddamn at least August. That means no sparring, no nothing. Because if you do not properly heal, you never will. And you looking at the here and now when you should be looking at not just the here and now, but you should be looking at the future too. But you trying to satisfy and keep your fans, happy for here and now. You ain't got to prove shit to us. We already know you the truth. You got to prove shit to us. Get your heel time on. But again, they can say, Miss T, that's the mama in you. Probably so. That's the way God made me. So I got to be what I got to be. Probably so. But I'm speaking from experience. Anything from the neck up takes longer to heal. More than people think. He said, exactly. That's all from the haters. You said, Dre Finest, always. You know what I'm saying? So, all this talk about Earl getting this fight with the WBA, I'm totally ecstatic and happy for him. Because in the end of the day, the people who got the belts is between 3 people. Ugas, Earl, and Terrence. All of them got to mix it up. Some kind of way, some kind of way. Because you can't be undisputed without seeing each other. And for me as a boxing fan, I'm over here happy. I'm cutting the jig because it's what I wanted. If you're not in it to be a champion, unified or undisputed, what you here for? I don't know what you here for, but I don't know if I could be following all that. You know, you got to tell us in the beginning, oh, I'm just here to make the money. You know, do I have to line your pockets? I don't have to pay to that. If you was looking at the Super Bowl, do you want to look at a team that don't care about making? I know y'all split it up. Help me out, y'all. You got the Eastern Championships and the Western Championships, right? Same thing with basketball, right? Help me out. So are you going to pick a team that's only caring about just making it to the playoffs? Hey, we made it to the playoffs. After that, I don't give a fuck what happened. Or, hey, we won the Eastern Championship or the Western Championship. After that, I don't give a fuck what happened. Or you want a team that's going for the damn Super Bowl ring or the NBA ring, the championship, the final championship. What team you going to go for? Well, boxing is a sport, right? I want somebody who is going to gun for champion, unified, and undisputed. I don't want somebody that come in that looks just sweet and be, you know, they just taking fights just to be taking fights. I don't want that shit. They can have that. You're not fighting for nothing. Why would I follow you? Why would I pay for your events? But let us know. I mean, if you that damn sweet looking, maybe I want to look at it. But if you think about that, I mean, that's what Floyd kind of morphed into. But Floyd did what he had to do early on. That ain't something he decided right there in the beginning. Some of these fighters deciding that shit right in the beginning. But Terrence is not deciding that. And Errol is not deciding that. So this is why I like them as fighters. Okay? But at this moment, Bud was outmaneuvered. And it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm not mad. I'm not happy. It's not the end of the world. I'm happy for the ones who got to come up. There's 3 that I can count. Stanionis, Ugas, and Errol. Because Ugas was crying to everybody but Santa Claus, trying to get people to understand, hey, this is not fair what y'all doing to me. That man was looking at his trajectory. Hey, I'm 35. I don't got long in this. Can y'all give me my moment? That's fair to ask. That is so fair to ask. And the WBA was seeming like they was throwing monkey wrenches and some shit. You can't be out there throwing monkey wrenches in these guys' career. All this shit this man went through since he was a kid training to be the greatest. And you're not going to give him his moment when he earned it? No, that wasn't cool. He said, go for it all. Exactly. Okay? So now that Bud and Spence is not ducking each other, and we got to get that shit out of our head. Neither one of them is ducking each other. I don't see it that way. I'm not knocking nobody who do see it that way. I'm just telling you, I don't. Michael Fuller is in a building with Poppin' King. He said if Errol wins the Ugas fight, he will not fight Terrence Crawford. If he don't, then that's his career. That's what he do. Can't win them all. Michael Fuller said he definitely won't fight him now. And as I just went through this long explanation, they not scared of each other. It ain't because of that. They can be tired of the business of boxing. And who wouldn't? I mean, we only humans. You can get tired of trying to do this and trying to do that and keep running up against a brick wall. And you can be like, man, fuck it. It's too hard. It shouldn't be too hard. We both want the same thing. Why the fuck this shit can't happen? They could be on some shit like that, Michael. So I would not classify either one of them as ducks. Not to me. But again, if somebody do, that's them. I just don't. But they both say things that you can make a case out of. They both. The answer to that, I say, who cares? I don't care. Wink, wink, I don't care. You know, I personally don't give a care if Earl called this person out and then Terrence called this person out and then they reneged or whatever. I don't give a shit. It's boxing. You know, Dre finally said, all hell, here we go. They talk about you, Michael. Mikhail. uh, it's just Michael is just a Bud fan. That's he alright, he alright. But like here, I try to keep it peaceful till I can't. But I'm trying to keep a clear mind because honestly, I like them both. I can't hate them both. Now let me get off into this story. Let me duck off into this avenue. So a lot of times in boxing, and this is my opinion, Errol Spence carries a lot of weight in what he thinks and what he feels. That's not his fault. That's just how it is. When Errol Spence was coming up, I might have seen a couple of fights of his, but didn't really know much about him. When his star rose is when he had that sparring session with Mayweather. Of course, that tape has not been released. I've never seen no sparring session with him and Mayweather, but you hear about it, right? So Errol, kudos, let me say, I've always thought he handled that whole situation brilliantly. He knew when to hold him and fold him brilliantly, okay? Because we know what kind of man Floyd is. We know how Floyd can get beside himself. Earl knew that too. Earl also was thinking about his own trajectory and his own career brilliantly. Because what do you do when you outbest the best? And the best has an ego that's bigger than whatever. You know what I'm saying? He handled it so brilliantly. So kudos to him for that. But that's when Errol's star rose. Now everybody really wanted to see, who is this Errol Spence? Now, who was the top dog when Mayweather was on his way out the door? None other than Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was the top dog. Period. He was the top dog. Okay? We can't act like he won't. Keith, at that time, had a better resume than all of them. At that time. But I'm one of the people I only said that because people now judging people by their resume. But Keith was the top dog. He was here. Earl was here. Earl was way down. Now, we always say, who is the top dogs now? You got Errol Spence, you got Terrence Crawford, and you got Ugas. Those are the three top dogs in the welterweight division. If any of those three are looking backwards, then they crazy. Isn't that not a bad decision? So Keith Thurman, when Earl was calling him out way back then, before Earl had a belt, Keith might have been scared. We don't know. Nobody asked. He didn't volunteer. He didn't say, oh yeah, I was scared or whatever. That's why, whatever. But even if he was the top dog. He is under no obligation to look back and grab Earl. But see, a lot of Earl fans feel like he should have. I don't get that shit. I'm going to be mad at Keith Thurman for that when all of y'all do it. Show me one fighter that don't do it. So I'm going to be mad at Keith Thurman when I've seen that, because I've been watching boxing before Keith Thurman showed up. I've seen that happen over and over again. If you're going and you're trying to reach the finish line, why in the fuck would you look backwards? You should be looking forward, right? If he was already unified, then he should have been trying to be undisputed. Earl won't go help him do that. Earl would have derailed him, possibly. I don't see nothing wrong in Keith you gone, I'll worry about you later. Earl didn't like that. And I don't see nothing wrong with Earl feeling the way he felt. I know you said, Miss T, you got to pick a side. I'm looking at how things normally go. I can never be on this bandwagon of hating a person or feeling a certain way negatively about a person when I see you do it and I see other people do it. You got to show me the daylight in between them. You know what I'm saying? Birdman said Thurman was our guy until money got to him and he was high on his own supply. He probably was. Life happened to him. It's one thing when you a dog, when you like 21 and 22, and then when you like 30 and you fell in love and you got married and you got kids. I'm telling you, once you become a parent, your whole perspective changes. I don't know how anybody stay the same once you become a parent. Shit like that happens to everybody in all walks of life. Birdman said, I don't think Thurman was scared. I just think he wanted to make as much money as possible. And maybe at the same time was T getting the money. He was wanting big risk, low reward. Yeah, Errol Spence would have been a big risk, low reward. Earl been calling Keith Thurman out since before he even had a belt. But the notion to think that Keith was obligated to listen, that's just crazy. Because now what happened? Look at us today. Who calls out Earl all the time? Who did it 2-3 years ago? I want to say 3. It might have been 2 years ago. Y'all help me out. Did Jerron Ennis not call out Earl 2 or 3 years ago? Or Ann Crawford, all of them. Has he not been calling them out for a while now? Help me out if I'm wrong, because I do distinctly remember Jerron Ennis calling all of them out 2 or 3 years ago. And the prevailing wisdom was, yo, young one, chill, just wait a moment, you ain't ready yet. Which was good, reasonable advice, but he called him out nonetheless. Did anybody take him seriously? Did anybody take him up on his offer? Nobody, right? And why should they? They're here. He's there. They're trying to get to the promised land. They ain't gonna get there messing with him. They gotta ignore Jerron for the time being. They will get to him, but let me accomplish my goal first. So the same shit that Keith did to Earl turned around and did to Jerron. And Crawford did to Jerron. Because he called all of them out. And they doing that to him now. And then y'all saw that clip when that young guy, it was real light skinned guy on his name. I don't know his name. But he called out Jerron. And Jerron actually mouthed the same thing that people be saying to him. Who you fought? You ain't ready. You know, all this bullshit. You got to get to my level. You got to get more. It's the way of the boxers. That's what they do. So we mad at Keith for that? We mad at Keith? That's all I said. You know, once Earl deemed Keith nothing, it seemed like everybody followed suit. And I'm not saying you don't have a right to, but I'm just saying from my perspective, that's what I saw. You said, Dre finally said, everyone is going to expect ESJ to look back and give Boost a handout. You did. And he don't have to. Not until he get his undisputed. I would not blame Earl for ignoring all of that until he get his undisputed. Wouldn't blame him at all. Oh, Blair Cobbs. Andrew Shaw said Blair Cobbs. Yeah, Blair was up in there calling out Jerron. Didn't Jerron hit him with the same old same? But I can't. Am I supposed to be mad at Earl now or Terrence now for doing the same thing that was done to them? Remember when Terrence came into the division? He called them all out. Did we forget that? He called them all out. Whatever choice he made is the choice he made. Whatever choice Earl made is the choice they made. Neither one of them are duckers. Neither one of them are punks. Neither one of them are anything less than a warrior. But they trying to navigate their, operative word being their, career. We don't have nothing to do with it. We can feel how we feel, but our opinion shouldn't matter to that level. The best fighting the best, that's an opinion that we all as fans can have. You should want the best to fight the best. We should want the fights to be put on. We should put pressure where we can. But to go too deep, into people's personal life or the way they are or the business choices they make, everybody is not meant to be a success. The word failure exists for a reason. And for those of us excuse me, who are a success should be happy that there's a healthy amount of people who are failures. I know that sounds cold. You cannot be a success unless there's a group of people who are failures. And it don't have to be a mean or bad thing. Some people gonna try, and they're gonna fail at shit. But eventually they'll win something. And some people seem like everything they try turns to gold. Everything they touch turns to gold, right? But hey, we don't know the inner workings and what's going on in their life to say that. But if you're a success, be happy that you're a success. And I'm looking at a bunch of successful people. Even in Keith Thurman. He got his. Now, is he keeping it? Is he maintaining his? I don't know. And that's pocket watching. I don't give a shit. Dre Finest. The business of boxing is to stay in the business of boxing. Yeah, dig? I dug. I dug. Yeah. So I think about those things. And like I said, once Earl deemed Keith nothing, it seemed like everybody followed suit. I didn't look at it like that because I was like, that's what y'all all do. So I didn't get mad at that. Keith Thurman probably, like most fighters, fought through a lot of injuries and then just kept on going from fight to fight. But I'm here to tell y'all, if you don't let shit properly heal, it never will. And it might not get you today, but it will sure get you tomorrow or later in your life. So they both say things, that they have either reneged or made the other one look crazy. I don't care. I ain't worried about that. Only thing I want to hear is ding, ding, fight. That's all I want to hear. Each of them have said things that each side can make a case, and that's what I was saying. All of us could say, well, Earl, offered him this, but he turned it down. None of us seen the contract. Now, I'll be the first to say I was wrong. I don't mind telling y'all I'm wrong. Hell, if I'm wrong right now, I'm wrong. I don't mind telling y'all that. But I haven't seen a term sheet or a contract for me to even speak intelligently on what was agreed upon. And to me, negotiating in public is crazy. It's just crazy. Dre Finer said, I judge a man by his character and content. True that. True that. And that's how we should judge people. So everything Terrence said, we can make a case. Everything Earl said, we can make a case. It goes up and down, back and forth, Neither one of them is God. And I need to say that. Neither one of them is God. So everything Terrence can say is not gospel. Everything Earl say is not gospel. I don't see it that way. And I'm like saying it like this because I mean this shit. I am tired of people talking like everything either one of them say is gospel. Because it's not. They are regular fucking people who just happen to be great at what they do. So please, every time I hear people talking like they the second coming or some shit, I be like, oh, I can't stand it either way. I can't stand it in favor of Terrence. I cannot stand it in favor of Earl. I can't stand it either way. I just get quiet. I be like, I don't want to talk about this because this shit is ridiculous. That's how I get. Even though that's the most exciting fight on the horizon. It's the one I want to see the most. But they not God, y'all. They not God. They ain't nowhere near God. And so people need to stop talking about them like they the second coming. Because they not. They fallible. They're men. They're great at what they do. We just hope to see them in the ring. All that other extra shit, whatever. And Spence was calling out everybody. So both of them have called out everybody to no avail. They never got everything that they wanted when they wanted. So there you have it. They regular people who's shooting their shot and hoping something stick. Spence has done a great move with trying to get the fight with Ugas. And I applaud him. I'm happy for him. And I believe he will be victorious. But I'm not totally counting out Ugas. Because I don't know. Ugas was begging for the fight himself. So we don't know what's going to happen. But, the consensus is that Spence might win that. Whoever wins has 3 belts, and there's one piece missing. They can go for Terrence, and somebody gonna be undisputed. I don't care how it happens. I just care that it does happen. If Ugas beats Spence and Terrence be like, you know what, Spence, I'll come back for you later. Maybe we can meet up at 154. But I'm gonna go ahead and knock Ugas down, and then I'm gonna be undisputed, and then I'm gonna drop the belts like I did at 140. Same thing for Earl. If Earl wins, he'll be like, okay, he can either, because I hear people saying that he don't need Terrence Crawford, he's gonna drop the belts, and I've heard Terrence say that. I don't give a shit. When they that close, I believe that they gonna make that happen. That's the hope or the optimism I'm choosing to have. When you that close, when you 1 belt away, and both of y'all have been clamoring to fight each other, y'all gonna make it happen. Y'all gonna make it happen. Whoever's the A side, I don't give a shit. Right now, if you want to put them in together and say who's the best out the 3, if you're just going by achievements, you're gonna say Earl, and then you're gonna say Terrence, and then you're gonna say Ugas. If you're just going by achievements. But if I'm going by overall fighter, I got Terrence #1. If I got him #1 on my pound for pound across the board, then how am I have him #2 or 3 or anything else in his division? That don't even make sense, do it? So, I mean, that's just me. I'm just one person. I'm just one person with one opinion. And if people don't agree, it's okay. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's just how I see it. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Say if Spence was calling folks out. But what people are mad at is his business decision. And I've been saying that all through this in the beginning. I said, do he got to do what y'all say? That's the question. Y'all got to ask that question. I'm talking about the Spence fans. Do he got to do what y'all say? I'm talking about Terrence. What could he have done, or what he should have done? I mean, is it up to y'all? Is it up to me? And I always say, y'all got to ask yourself, who career is it? It's a fight we all want to see. Fighters try to do what they want. Sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. And I talked about the being gospel and the Thurman situation. I'm still a Thurman fan. I do think that people, I see where they're coming from when they say they have a problem with Thurman. I see that. And I have no argument. I never can have an argument, because he do move funny and he do say things that don't make sense. And I can't defend him. But I'm still a fan, because I only really care about what he did in the boxing ring. I don't care what he did outside the ring. I don't care how many hoes y'all bang, how many bitches you throw down, how many people you rob, I don't care about none of that shit. As long as it don't interfere with the boxing ring and your ability to fight. Now, between Earl and Terrence, have they, this is a question I got for y'all, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because I can only see what I see. Have they made good and bad decisions when it comes to their career? Y'all can jump out and tell me where you saw they made good and bad decisions. I kind of pretty much know what most of y'all gonna say, but go ahead and say it. This is the time to say it, because I say yes on both parts. Them young brothers are going to rumble. Yes, they will. I'm waiting on y'all. So, have they made good decisions and or bad decisions when it comes to their career? I'm very interested to hear what some of y'all in the chat got to say, or just anybody want to call in. Matter of fact, let me make sure my phone lines are open. They are open. Let me go and put the link in the chat. Y'all can tell me, because I know what I'm gonna say, but I'm interested in hearing what you guys say. How they made good or bad decisions. I'll give it another second or two. Because like I said, I'm very interested to hear what you guys say. I know some of you is just chatting, and but the phone lines are open. You can call in at any time and let us know That's at 706-804-4449. Smash the like button and subscribe while you coming in the building. Do that for me for Christmas. Then I just played What Do the Lonely Do at Christmas? They smash the like button and the subscribe button. That's what they do. What have they made good decisions? If you look at every boxer, you're going to find that they made good decisions and they made bad decisions. You're going to find that. Every last one of them, even the ones you think is on top of everything and do everything right. We used to think Floyd did everything right, but now we know. You know, Floyd, the only thing he did perfect damn near is his boxing record, like he said. Like, I mean, now that we have to look back in retrospect. That's his boxing record is perfect. He has no losses, no contests, no nothing. He won everything he did. So we can consider that perfect. But has Floyd made great decisions and bad decisions? Hell to the yes. So did Errol. So did Terrence. So did Keith Thurman. So has Jerron Ennis. If he hasn't done it, he will. So does a lot of them. That fighter that just fought this weekend, Brown, he made some bad decisions. That affects your boxing career. Let's talk about Terrence. Terrence signed with somebody like Bob Arum. I'm with y'all. I don't agree with that shit. I didn't want him to do that. He was making it hard out here to defend him. Because I was like, why, Terrence? Why? Don't you know by doing this, XYZ gonna happen? And if you know XYZ gonna happen and that's not a good thing, why do you keep doing what you doing? Making it hard. But he had extenuating circumstances or reasonings for why he did it. He didn't have to explain it to me or you. But he did what he did. Okay, cool. Did he make good decisions? Look at how his contract went. PBC supposedly be running out of money, right? They having money issues. They overpaying fighters. They just paid $50 million for Canelo and Caleb. Too much money, right? They barely got money. They got to put a pay-per-view on everything, right? Okay. So now looking back what Terrence did by getting that guarantee, that's looking pretty good to me. Did Terrence know that PBC would get to this point in boxing? No. I mean, he can't tell the future because I think he resigned a couple of years ago or 2 or 3 years ago. He resigned. He didn't know that PBC was going to be in this predicament. But what he did for himself. Because while y'all calling his opponents tomato cans, this nigga is making $3 to $4 million off of either fight. It don't matter who he fight. He's making millions. Now count up the fights that he did. And then multiply it by 3. Let's just go with the lowest number. Multiply it by 3. That's a lot of goddamn money, ain't it? That's a lot of goddamn money. EJ has did great for himself. He didn't sign with a promoter. He betted on himself. He's his own boss. He makes his own money. EJ making a killing too. Now I know if you look up on Google, it'll tell you what their net worth is, but I believe they're worth more than that. Because I swear, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong, y'all. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm wrong. Okay? But I could have sworn he made like close to 20 million or something like that when he fought Mikey Garcia. I could have sworn. So when I go to Google and they say he's worth 8 million, I don't know how that, I just be like, okay. But why should I know personally what the fuck they worth? But it'll say that both Terrence and him is worth about the same. I think they worth more than that. I think in their careers they have made more than that. But I mean, we could just count it. Like I said, take all the fighters that Terrence did with Bob when he re-signed and had that contract where you had to pay him the minimum and multiply it by 3. If you've made over $10 million in your career, you good. You are good. That isn't that what we say about Caleb Plant? Didn't he just make $10 million? He's a millionaire. And if Caleb Plant do what I think he'll do, he gonna stay a millionaire because that's a smart man. So I'm just saying, those are the things that some things they did good and some things they did bad. Bad was signing with Bob because we know that you could have had so much more, and it precluded you from interacting or engaging with PBC fighters and other fighters, the fighters that we wanted to see. Tough titty. But good for him because he got what he wanted. He goes to Africa. He does philanthropy. He does what he want to do. He don't give a damn what we think. He's a family man. You don't hear too much about what's going on with him. He's good. But did his decision could have cost or derailed his boxing career? Of course. Then that makes it a bad decision. In some respects. Good in others. Earl. We say he's his own man. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Did he not just have that crash a couple of years ago? Yeah, he did. Thank God he survived it. I think the alcohol got him in that predicament, but it also saved his life. Because when you about to fall or, go through some shit, what people do is they brace for the impact, to be rigid, they be stiff and all that. That's what fuck you up the worst. But he ain't feel shit because he was numb. And that's what saved his life. So was that a bad decision? Mm-hmm. That could have derailed his whole career. He could have came out there with all kinds of injuries that he can't recoup from. And the jury is still out on how well he will totally recoup from it. Youth saved him. Being numb from the alcohol saved him. But that was a terrible decision. And it affected his boxing career. He was able to bounce back. God, he caught favor. Thank God. I really say thank God. He really caught favor. But his business move, we like them better. But isn't it a business move to drink and drive? I mean, let's call it what it is. This is why I don't get mad at Earl for that. He made a young man decision that could have threw a monkey wrench into everything. Terrence made a young man decision by signing with that first promoter that could have, that just could have ruined him. And thank God they had people around them that helped them out, both of them. So that's why I say again, I don't get into all that minutia. The bottom line is, I'm happy that Earl and Ugas gets an opportunity. I'm mostly happy that Ugas gets a chance to have his moment in the sun and make the big pay. I'm happy for him. I hope this thing, when they do fight, sell out. I hope they go to the biggest arenas that we might have. If that's in Vegas or New York, I hope they come to Atlanta. I hope wherever they are, they sell out. I hope both of them get paid. I'm going to be supporting that. If they go to Atlanta, I'm going to that fight. But I will be putting my money on the line for both of them. I will be supporting them and buying that fight. Now, I do have to break down, and I know we're over an hour, so I got to get through this. I do have to break down this notion about did he know or whatever. So I went through all the past history or whatever about both of these fighters. And I want to say, let's start off with the Ugas and Pac fight. Ugas and Pac came because Earl, had an injury. They fought, Ugas and Pac. Ugas won. And right away, it seemed like after that, WBA was ordering him to have this box off because, they trying to get rid of belts. But the belt that you can't get rid of his belt. That belt is all the way legit. You know what I'm saying? That's not one of the belts they was trying to get rid of. So nobody understood why they put Ugas in the box office in the first place? Ugas cried to everybody, wrote a letter to everybody but Santa Claus. The answer was no, no, no. So that was the answer, right? So everybody accepted the answer and they was moving on. So meanwhile, you had Terrence Crawford send some kind of representative. I don't know if this guy worked for him or whatever. He spoke for him, at the least. The WBC had their convention November 14th through November 19th. If y'all see, that was before the Crawford Porter fight, where Bud sent somebody in to say to the WBC, make me Earl's mandatory. If that's not saying I want to fight with you, I don't know what is. But that wasn't good enough. Sometimes you hear that, oh, that was fake. Oh, he ain't had it. I mean, I don't know no other way to ask for a fight, but how he been doing it. Okay. They didn't say nothing. They didn't say that they were. Maybe they heard this cry and just moved on with the meeting. Nothing came of it. Porter and Crawford fights on November 27th. At that time, Ugas is still obligated to be in this box office. Ugas still complaining, but he's obligated. So nobody's thinking the WBA gonna change their mind because they have already said no. So, but Ugas is still complaining and Ugas is still petitioning. Well, him and Earl have wanted a fight. So now they both are petitioning. You don't know the answer until the answer came. And until that answer came, the answer was no. So what is the harm with Bud reaching out, or in the way he did it? People might not like it. But what is wrong with him saying, I want the fight? Because not that long ago, like a week or two ago, they were saying Ugas still have to be in that box off. Now, even if all parties knew that they were petitioning for that fight, like Earl and Ugas, even if Terrence knew, the whole boxing world could have knew, nobody could say they knew the answer. So if they petition it, and we already saw earlier that WBA said no, hell to the no, then what's wrong with Terrence or anybody else? Because in that time frame, in these last couple of months, Jerron Ennis has reiterated he wanted a fight with Earl. So what's the difference? That's all I'm saying. What is the problem? He damned if he do and he damned if he don't. Like, for real, they gonna get this fight on. I'm happy for Errol Spence. I hope he wins that other belt. And I hope him and Terrence meet up sometime in 2022. I just hope and pray that that's how it go. And shout outs to all of them. And shout outs to Ugas. Shout outs to Standing Owners for getting step aside money. You still gonna have another fight. You still in the game and you got paid for a fight you ain't have to do. Shout outs to that. But all in all, it's good news. It is very good news that this is about to happen. Shout outs to Errol Spence. Yeah. Andrew said they both super successful, especially compared to the average boxer's career. They both haven't crossed over to the next level of superstardom, but they still doing very good. Yeah. Andrew Charles also said, who you think Bud should fight while Spence and Ugas goes down? Whomever. If I'm Bud, if I'm Earl, if I'm Ugas, I don't give a fuck about nobody but somebody with the belt. However that works out, it works out. If Bud got to fight somebody, I always say too, Bud is my favorite fighter, but I ain't that one to throw a monkey wrench, or try to be avoiding. If it's Jerron, if it's Virgil Ortiz, if it's whoever, I personally don't care. But all three of them should be keeping their eye on the prize. Period. They shouldn't be caring about nobody but them three. Let's squash it. Let's get these belts to one owner, one face, one name at the welterweight division. Let's be about that, and whatever falls into place, falls into place. If Bud goes and fights somebody, he lose, It happens. I might be emotional that day, but I get over it. I told y'all. Remember, I told you I was at the Deontay fight. I cried. I cried a little bit, but I was better by the time I got outside. But just at the moment, I was like, oh, clutching my pearls. At the moment, you said I heard that 100. Indeed. So I'm gonna talk about some of these fights. I thought Coach G was coming through, but I guess he got caught up. Uh, let's see. So I know some of y'all saw the Morrell Jr. versus Alante Fox. Fox, he looked just like his brother, don't it? The other one, I forgot his name, Mikhail. And they got that unbalanced look, kind of like Jamal James to me. A little bit more sturdier than Jamal James. Morrell was too much for him. Was too much and was ready to shine. Now somebody, I heard that Morrell is Puerto Rican or something. Or is he black? Which one is it? I don't know. But he was too much for Alante Fox. He was just too much. He was too powerful, too strong, too young, too hungry. Morrell is trying to make a statement. And that's all I can say about that fight because it didn't last long. I mean, he was pouring it on. He was challenging him the whole time, and it was all Alante could do is to position himself and try to throw off punches, but his punches didn't seem like they had any pop to him. He didn't, in my opinion, he didn't have any pop that was respectable enough for Morrell to be like, hold on now, wait a minute now. I can't just be running in there. That's just how I saw it. So I don't know if you guys saw it like that. It ain't much to talk about. Like Morrell puts me in the mind of what's that guy name at welterweight over the UK, Conor Benn. He puts me in the mind of him. You young, you're hungry, you're relentless, you got some power, and you got some fundamentals. But that's it to you. That's it to you. I ain't look at that fight and said, oh, this motherfucker can box. Like I didn't feel that way. So, I mean, when the youth dies out, we're going to see what other stuff he have in his arsenal that he can pull out. Because youth is a hot commodity. That's worth everything. But when they're like Virgil Ortiz, I said the same thing about him. He got about 3 tools he can reach in the bag and grab. And youth is one of them. But he's relentless. He does hit hard. He knows. But is he a pure boxer? No. When you put somebody like that in the ring with somebody who can really box, but got some kind, even if they got respectable power, like a Devin Haney. Devin has respectable power. I don't think he has a lot, but he has enough to make you be like, I don't want to taste that again, like all the time. Then, that might be a thing, but Fox dude, he didn't have it. Atlantic, he didn't have it, not with Morrell. He may have it with others. I heard he fought Andre. I've never seen that fight. I might have to go back and look at it because they said he dropped Andre. So maybe he do. But in that particular fight with Morrell, Atlantic Fox didn't have any power. He seemed like he was pushing his punches. So that was a lackluster fight for me that night. That don't mean every time they fight, it would be lackluster. But that particular day, Richardson Hitchens. The guy can box. He can box his ass off. He's another one who don't, in my opinion, have a lot of pop. Maybe he do. Maybe you got to be in there to feel it. But to me, Richardson Hitchison is, and I could be saying his name wrong, so I apologize. He's just a person who can box. Like he has the skills, but that's it. I don't foresee him getting in there with no killers or for real niggas. I don't see it. If y'all see it, chime in. I could be wrong. I'm just saying my opinion. But he wins his fights because of his acumen. He can box. He really can box. And I favor real boxers over anything all the time. But I do say sometimes you're going to have something to keep somebody off you. If Richardson had to fight somebody like, and I don't know, I think he in a 135 division, but or 130, if he had to fight somebody like Isaac Cruz, what would he do? What would he do? With that kind of pressure coming on you and hitting hard, what would you do? So that's why I say, and he's a young guy too. So maybe he has to still get his man strength. I don't know. So I don't know much about him. I've seen a handful of his fights, and I keep saying the same thing. He could box his ass off. And he could do that. But do he hit hard? I don't think he do. I don't even know at times, do he have respectable pop, like to keep somebody at home? I don't know. I still have not seen the Ramirez fight. Sorry to tell y'all that. I've been trying to. My DAZN, for some reason, showing every other fight but that one. By the time it gets to that fight, it just goes off. I don't know. So I'm going to try to look at it when I get off today. But I did see the Brown versus Beterbiev. And this is where I agree with Terrence Crawford when he said, we don't know what kind of pay-per-view numbers I could have had, because when you have to do the pay-per-view for Terrence, not all of them, because I think some of them was regular pay-per-view, but that ESPN Plus, I'm sick of that shit already. And I just keep it because you just never, I keep it just like the reason why I keep DAZN, because you just never know. And sometimes you can get a good nugget. But the shit I got to go through to get to ESPN Plus, I'm sick of it. It's not easy. I can see people quitting, people my age, a little bit younger, be like, man, fuck this shit. I'll see the highlights or look at it on YouTube, wink, wink. So I don't know. Like that shit was just kind of hard for me. You know what I'm saying? Like to try to stay with. But I'm glad I kept it. I got it recently when Terrence was fighting, and it took me over an hour, like almost 2 hours, just to get it up and running. I don't want to go through that shit. I like pay-per-view where I press the button, the shit is on. That's how I want to see my fights. So, Brown versus Beterbiev, I got it. Like right after they were singing the national anthem, then it popped on my screen. I don't even know what button to this day that I was pressing, but it eventually popped up. Brown was doing a good job. In the beginning. Boxing. And I know Brown has pop. I know he can box and he can fight. He was doing a good job. But Beterbiev is relentless. He don't have the best footwork. And if he did, God, I would say nobody can beat this dude. But because of his footwork and the lack thereof of experienced footwork, like you can tell he ain't been doing it long because he don't move like somebody who got like real, true experience, in my opinion. Beterbiev. So he couldn't. I mean, Brown was keeping him at home. First 3 or 4 rounds, I had Brown winning. Like, he was doing a better job. It's only when Brown started getting tired. And I'm going to say tired because I don't know if it was the cut that he had to know that he had a little cut on the side and there was blood. He should have thought to himself most of that blood was Beterbiev's. Once again, somebody fights Brown and he gets that gash in the middle of his head. Like Badu, Jack will wear that scar for life. And it's not horrible. Thank God he don't keloid, but if you get up on Badu Jack, you can see that scar. But, he a man, so a man can have a scar, and it don't be the end. If it was a woman with that scar, she'd be trying to get some plastic surgery or something. But I don't know what kind of head Brown got. But he be busting motherfuckers' heads open. And I was like, was it a clash of heads or was it an actual punch? Because from what I could see when they did meet up, I don't see how that clash could have made that gash. I'm just spitballing here. I don't see it. I don't see how that. And then when they showed it in slow motion, I didn't right away see no blood. Like, maybe I got to go back and look at it. But this is the second time that happened to him. And what he should have known, I think somebody else said it on another show. It could have been Kyle from the boxing section. Say he should have kept hitting it because all that blood he was losing, his cut was more than superficial. Because we got 5 layers of skin. You got to get deep, and the deeper levels of skin before you to bleed like that. You had to be damn near close to the bone for you to bleed like that. If you just cut through the first couple of layers, you're not gonna bleed like that. So he had to be real deep to get like that kind of blood, and he was draining. So that meant he's human. He have will and he got heart. You got to see that. Talking about better BM, but he's human. All that blood that was dripping down his face, all he had to do, talking about Brown, all Brown had to do was just keep jabbing at it, poking at it, rubbing your hair, because our hair can cut you. They be talking about spider webs being strong, which they are. They defy logic. But our hair can cut you. Especially if you got an open sore, then rub your head all up in that joint. Cut his ass out. I bet you he wouldn't have wanted to fight. He wouldn't have. He'd have been slowing down. You had to make him gush the blood out. That's what Brown failed to do by taking the shots. And I can only attribute that to when he leaned up on the ropes and put his hands up in peekaboo style. I can only attribute that he was tired. So because he got tired, if he go back to the drawing board, he got to figure out a way to last throughout a fight. Because I think his style of fighting could beat just about anybody if he don't get tired. And I can say that about a lot of people. But if he don't get tired, and I think that's what happened. Better BF weathered the storm. He refused to quit. He was going to go out on his shield. That was a deep ass gash in his head. He going to wear that scar for life. But hey, it was worth it, I guess. And then I'm going to move. But that's all I can say about it. They did a good job. Brown did a good job. He did. He just didn't have the stamina to take it all the way through the end. And if he did, I think he would have won the fight. I think the strategy he had going into the fight was the best for him and best for the fight to win. But it came down to stamina and endurance or whatever, or conditioning. And so that's where I would say Brown need to tweak, is only in that area. But then at the end of the fight, he didn't want to. He wasn't terrible. Don't get me wrong. Don't take it as me saying he was a bad actor. Because we know the scrutiny he's under right now. But at the end of the fight, he didn't try to shake dude's hand. It's almost like he just couldn't believe it. I would almost call him a sore loser, but he didn't misbehave. He won't like no Brandon Figueroa, or who was that other one that had us that weekend that lost, that was like a sore loser. He wasn't doing that type shit, but he didn't want to shake his hand. Better BF tried a couple of times to come over there and do the dap up and all that stuff, and he won't try to hear. He left, without saying something. He has to work on that too. But I mean, and that's a part of his boxing career, because the scrutiny he under now for the domestic violence problems he have, it's almost like when you are already in hot water, you have to like shine doubly everywhere else to get yourself out the hot water. So you can't be average elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was sick, I had a hard time doing my PT test when I was in the military. I was just weak. I couldn't do it, right? But a lot of times, when I was sick, they would write like a chit for me, certain parts of the test I didn't have to do. But I would shine in the areas where I had to do it, or I would shine in areas in my job where I was like, I got to be the go-to, or I got to know my shit. I got to show I'm the best. I would doubly work hard in other areas of my job, and just so that I can rise up out the hot water from the area that I didn't shine in. And I feel like part of his job was everything about boxing. It's about the weigh in, how you ingratiate yourself to your opponent, how you congratulate them, how you what's the sportsmanship. All of that's a part of your job, and you got to change this narrative or this thing that's hanging over your head. And the best way to do that, and this is what I would tell them, the best way to do that is to become doubly everything else that's good about you. Make that rise way above than that one little negative area about you, and eventually you can flip that whole thing around. We talked about on Friday, how long do it take to forgive somebody, and it's just about putting in good faith. Good faith without work, it ain't nothing gonna happen. So you have to you got to put in the work. You can't look for the finish line. Just put in the work. Be doubly good everywhere else. Go on these shows, promote yourself, go on Steve Harvey, go on these radio shows, volunteer at other events. Don't be afraid of it. Wear it. Be like, yo, I was young and dumb, or whatever. Most of all, though, sportsmanship got to be one of your things that you shine at. You got to be so good at sportsmanship, to me, that you make others want to emulate you. So that's the only thing I can say about Brown, and I hope that he does that. I hope that people in his ears are saying that, because that would change the people's views. I think it would change my views, and I'm hardcore against domestic violence, but it would change my views. I can tell you that, and I don't give it easily. But I know that that's a good tactic to use. And even if it's a tactic, you got to show us something. Okay, I think I read that. And you said I heard that 100. So the last fight I'm gonna talk about is Paul and Woodley. Paul paid Serrano a lot of money. I heard, I think Kyle said it the other night, that she must have got paid $1 million. If so, shout outs to Serrano. Shout outs to Jake Paul for that. I didn't pay for that fight. That's the first time I didn't pay for some bullshit, because I felt it would be bullshit. Woodley was not in shape. He was replaced in 2 weeks' notice, and I knew it was going to be some bullshit. But he tried. So shout out to Willie for even going in there and try. He got a good payday. Everybody got a good payday. So it's a win-win for everybody. But the knockout, you got to deal with that, Willie, forever. You really wasn't cut out to be a boxer. And that's evidently shown when you met up with him the first time. Because you stiff, and you as DJ said, you taking away the best attributes of him. He might as well be on his knees or one hand behind the back. And so you need to stop that. And by the way, DJ, I'm trying to watch some of these UFC fights, just so you know. And I probably want to start on Wednesdays. Not this Wednesday, but like in the future, letting you guys chop it up on here about UFC, because I really can't say much about it. And it's hard sometimes, because I'll be like, ooh, whatever. It's too much. I ain't gonna lie, it's too vulgar for me. But I'm trying to ingratiate myself to that sport. So I'll let you lead that, DJ, if you want to, or anybody in there who really are UFC fighters. We can talk about that on Wednesday. Y'all chop it up, and I'll sit back and I'll chime y'all in. I'll sit back and just learn. Because like I said, when you know better, you do better. That's my motto. I left the phone lines open. You guys could have called in, wink, wink, but y'all didn't. So, but don't be shy. Sister ain't gonna bite you unless you want me to. But y'all can chime in at any time. People in Facebook, you can call in at 706-804-4449. Thanks for letting me cook. Thanks for joining in. And I'm gonna be done. I mean, I went a little bit long because I had a lot to say. And most of the times I don't talk about Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, because I don't really like that type of debate. Not that I'm scared of a debate. I just don't. I like them both. I'm not mad at anything they did. I'm not mad at nothing they say and do. I don't think neither one of them are fugazi or a punk or scared of each other. I don't think that. And also, the only reason I give Keith Thurman a reprieve is because how I feel like everybody, just stopped liking him. And I didn't agree with that. I'm not disagreeing with anybody else's opinion to stop liking him. I'm just saying I didn't agree with that, because then you turn around and see Earl doing it to Jerron, or Bud doing it to Jerron, and then you turn around and see uh, Jerron doing it to that other guy, Blair Cobbs. When does it stop? If I'm mad at Keith, I have to be mad at them. And I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at anybody who see the finish line and don't give a fuck about who behind them. Because that's how it should be. So, in the end of the day, as I always say, when you know better, you do better. Shout outs to Desiree for singing that damn song, What Do the Lonely Do at Christmas? You got that shit stuck in my head. When you know better, you do better. Peace.